What's good, everybody? What's good? What's good? All right. So we're gonna start this one off about. We're gonna just talk about something that I've been learning uh, recently. Something I feel like can elevate anybody watching this to the next level. Starting yesterday, um, and we're gonna get into a little bit of scientific stuff. Although I'm not a scientist, I'm not a doctor. So that's just a disclaimer before we get this started. But I believe that you can turn your life around today. And what I mean by that is some people might not feel like they need to. Some people might have it all figured out. But that's a few things that I've been studying just to improve my own, circumstances. And I think this could be very beneficial to anybody listening. So, get your notes out, take some notes, because this is going to be very informational. And we're going to just dive right into it, all right? So, some people might feel like they're not super motivated all the time, or that you can't get out of bed, or everybody has ideas. I know I'm one of the idea people in my social circle, but everybody has ideas, and sometimes we can't, accomplish things that we set out to get, accomplish, or things like that. Like you ever feel like you have all these ideas, but for some reason nothing's happening for you. Well, I think I got an answer for you, because I had an answer for myself, and we're just gonna dive right into it today. We're gonna talk about dopamine, and for those people that don't know what dopamine is the reward molecule in your brain, right? So dopamine, to my understanding, is the thing that gives us the drive to seek reward. So it's the drive to seek reward from something. Like if you go hard in the gym, you release dopamine. It's a lot of things you do where you release dopamine. So as we get into this talk, I want to say dopamine is not a bad thing. Before I dive into it, it's not a bad thing, but it's very important. That's what we're finna talk about today. So for me personally, I've been more recently in a mental slump, I would say. And I was just trying to figure out, like, man, I got all these ideas and goals. Even this, like doing this podcast, I got all these dreams, goals, ideas, and visions. And for some reason, as I think about those things, I'm, full of motivation, full of energy. But then when it's time to, accomplish these things, I don't have the same drive. And for a little while, I've been, feeling like I've been stuck or at a, rough place, rough patch. So I got on the computer, man, and I just started digging and digging and digging. And what I stumbled across was the chemical dopamine. Now, I've heard about dopamine before, plenty of times, but for some reason, I started really taking a deep dive into studying, what dopamine is all about, what I'm looking to learn and get from it, what I'm looking to take from it. So those are things I started studying, and I came out with some pretty surprising, important results that I feel like will help. That they help me, and I know they'll help you. You know what I'm saying? So we, in a day-to-day basis, everybody releases dopamine, right? Everybody releases that reward chemical. It's pretty much they call it the pleasure chemical, the pleasure molecule. Like everybody releases that, and we release it in a lot of different ways. For the people that really want to make a change in life in general, we have to be the ones to stop releasing the cheap dopamine, right? So a few examples, and it's a lot of them, so don't think this is everything, but a few examples of it, like extremely cheap dopamine releases would be things like social media, And specifically, not just social media. Like, and as I go through this list, don't think that all these things I'm saying are bad. Like that you can't do them at all. At like that's not what I'm saying. But for example, social media. If you get on TikTok and you think about it, you see a video that you find entertaining. So you release dopamine. Your brain is saying that you got a reward for doing minimal work. It's pretty much instant gratification. And then after you watch that video, no matter how entertaining it was to you, it could have been funny, it could have been informational, inspiring, whatever. Then all you gotta do is scroll up and go to the next one. And so it's not healthy for our brain. And it's pretty much tricking our brain into saying that we got rewarded for something. The thing we get rewarded for though, like we ain't do nothing for. So it's like our brain says you good job, but we ain't did nothing. And so social media is one of them. Food is another one. Pornography, binging shows, and just binging in general. Those are a few of the ones that really hit people the most. And those are the most common, cheap releases of dopamine. But you also have things like music. It's a long list. But the way that you'll be able to flip that and change everything around is take some time to yourself sometime and just do the boring stuff. Or be mindful of the fact that you like to eat unhealthy all the time. Or be mindful of the fact, like, social media is a killer, bro. Like, sometimes just take some breaks from social media. Don't watch nothing. Don't watch no YouTube videos. Don't watch no podcasts. Don't watch no TikToks. Because what you're going to do is create a loop of the brain's need to release dopamine, but yet you watching things that aren't necessarily, even if you watching anything in general, it's a loop. Like, even if you watch, like, a real trick is the self-help stuff, like watching things that are beneficial to the brain, or you feel like you finding that next thing, but at the end of the day, you keep watching those things. Like, I know I got caught into that habit, like, of watching self-help, feeling like I need the next self-help book or, stuff like that. In reality, you just don't. So think of those things that it could be for you and try to cut them out, because you don't really need it. You know what I'm saying? Like, sometimes you just need to be bored, or sometimes you need to take some time for yourself and just sit there and focus, stare at the wall. Because what's going to happen is you're going to want to get up and do something. And that motivation, if you don't use it towards the cheap dopamine, you'll start to use it towards your goals. And so I want to hit on why our brain seeks those cheap dopamine things, especially social media, food, pornography, and binge watching shows. I want to talk about novelty. Now, I don't know if y'all know what novelty means. The definition is the quality of being new, right? And so we constantly search for the new thing, right? That's why they say sometimes that you buy, like, for example, look at the sneaker market, for example. Like, you buy a pair of J's this Saturday, and another pair come out next Saturday that's, fresh, and you buy another pair because it's new. It don't matter if it's the same model. It don't matter if you got 10 of the same model. You buying them because it's new. And that's the same thing when somebody drop a new album. You know what I'm saying? You take the time to listen to it because it's new. Or with the examples I use on TikTok, Instagram, all those things, as you continue to scroll, you see something brand new. And to the point where you scroll it so much that you probably have seen it already a couple times. So we got to realize, like, our brain seeks those new experiences. So it's hard for us to have any real meaning or real focus behind what we really want to accomplish. And some of those goals are long-term goals. Like, you want to be rich, it ain't going to happen as fast as you can see a TikTok. You want to make some money, it ain't going to happen as fast as they drop the new season or whatever show you watching. Could it happen fast? Of course it could happen fast. But what I'm saying is, you got to really put the time in, and you got to be driven towards those goals. Because if you're not, it's not going to work out for you. And so be mindful of how you spend your dopamine. Look at dopamine as a currency, right? Treat it like a currency, just like you would treat money. Unless you not, the greatest financially, then I'm sure you don't want to waste your dopamine like you wasting your bread. But treat it like a currency. Be mindful of how you spend it. I would say that. Be mindful of how you spend it, because it's a very valuable part about attacking your goals, that you can't just get motivation. You can't watch no motivational video and just be so inspired to go after your long-term goals. Like, that motivation is temporary. But dopamine is not a temporary chemical. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're going to release dopamine all day, every day. So use it for the right things. Like, use that drive and motivation to accomplish your long-term goals, not like short-term fixes. And that'll really be able to change the way you look at life. I promise you, if you try this just try it for a day, try it for 2 days, 3 days, and you'll see a huge change in everything you're trying to accomplish. Because what's going to happen is, since you're not getting rewarded for the easy stuff, your brain still needs to release these chemicals. So eventually you're going to do something. It don't got to be something spectacular or amazing. Like, you might just go clean your room, or put your clothes up, or, anything. But those clothes might have been sitting there for a week. You know what I'm saying? So be mindful of how you spend that dopamine. Dopamine is a currency. Look at it like a currency. And I guarantee you that you can, turn your life around and do whatever you plan on doing. So for me, I ain't even mention it. Gaming is a big one too. Just playing the game all day, every day, being attached to it. That was something I struggled with. Cause I enjoy playing my game and all, but, it's just releasing dopamine. Your brain saying, good job. You did it. You rewarded. Same thing for guys. Like, when guys, having sex, and they end up releasing in the end, their body just gets so relaxed. They brain like, good job. You created a child, no matter if you did or not. And so just be mindful of these things moving forward. And try it. I would just say try it out. Like, try to go, like, no matter what time you're seeing this, tomorrow, whatever. Think about things, and you can look it up too. Do your research, but think about things where you release cheap dopamine, and just tell yourself, all right, I'm not going to do this today. Or I'm going to limit myself to 1 hour on social media. Or I'm going to limit myself to I'm not going to watch my favorite show today. Any of those things that take up a lot of your time, just cut it out. And yes, you're going to be bored, especially at first. You're going to be bored as a mug. And that's what really drives us to do these things, because we're so bored. And since you're bored, you go to the first thing you can think of. And these are so easy. Like, the world makes all these things so accessible. Like, there's nothing wrong with eating unhealthy food, but we do it in such rapid succession. We keep doing it over and over and over and over, and then it becomes an escape. That's what these cheap dopamines are doing for you. It's an escape from reality, where you need to be. You need to be where you need to be where your 2 feet are. So focus on creating instead of consuming. Focus on being a producer instead of a consumer. The best way to do that is to stop consuming. All the things that I listed are forms of consumption. Stop consuming, and you'll easily shift to the other side. You know what I mean? So take some time, make a list of the things you consider cheap dopamine specifically for you, because everybody's different. Like, my biggest one was playing the game. Like, just being real. And so take some time, make a list for yourself, and I guarantee you this will work. Because it worked for me. It worked for millions of people. And it's simple. It's simple science, but it's just It's very important. Take your time, learn about it, and get back to me. So I appreciate y'all tuning in. Um, Eventually these episodes are gonna be a little bit longer, but um, and I want to start getting some guests on here too. But for now, it's just me and you. So I appreciate y'all. If you like the video, subscribe, all that. I got some more stuff coming for y'all too. So I appreciate you for checking it out, and peace.